Welcome back to Daily Decode, the channel where we unravel the truth behind the headlines, decode the drama, and bring you the untold stories shaking up the world. If it's trending, if it's controversial, and if it's leaving audiences stunned, you'll hear it decoded here first. Subscribe and hit that bell, because today, we're diving into a moment that sent shockwaves through daytime television. This isn't just another celebrity story, this is about how one man's words brought The View to a screeching halt. Yes, we're talking about Denzel Washington, an icon in Hollywood, known for his talent, class, and depth. But on a recent appearance on The View, something happened that no one saw coming. The atmosphere shifted, the audience gasped, and even the co-hosts were left scrambling, because Denzel said one sentence that changed everything. And then he walked out. It started off as a normal segment. Denzel was on a press tour, promoting a film, something he's done hundreds of times before. The panel welcomed him with smiles and applause. Whoopi Goldberg, a longtime friend and fellow Oscar winner, was especially warm. There was laughter, admiration, and respect, at least at first. But then, the questions turned. It always happens in these segments. One of the co-hosts, reportedly Sunny Hostin, asked a question that was clearly fishing for controversy. It wasn't about the movie. It wasn't about his career. It was political. Something along the lines of how Denzel felt about the current state of masculinity in America, and whether Hollywood had a responsibility to shape narratives that reflect the evolving identity of men. It was phrased delicately, but Denzel paused. You could see it on his face. He wasn't going to give a cookie-cutter answer. He sat up a little straighter. He looked at the panel, and then he said, calmly but firmly, "The world doesn't need weaker men. It needs better men." Silence. That was the sentence. 7 words that cracked the air open like lightning. The crowd didn't know how to react at first. Some clapped, a few gasped, and the hosts, well, the expressions on their faces said everything. Joy Behar leaned back in her chair. Ana Navarro furrowed her brow. Sunny seemed taken aback, and Whoopi, she just blinked, as if she couldn't believe what she just heard. The tension wasn't just in the words, it was in what Denzel didn't say. He didn't apologize, he didn't soften his statement. He just looked around the table as if daring someone to challenge him, and that's exactly what happened. Sunny Hostin jumped in. She said, "But don't you think the definition of strength is changing? But maybe the idea of men being strong has been tied to toxic behaviors." Denzel didn't flinch, he nodded. "Strength without compassion is tyranny. But weakness isn't virtue. We keep confusing gentleness with softness. I teach my sons to cry, to feel, but also to stand. Stand for something. That's not toxic. That's necessary." Now the mood had shifted entirely. This wasn't a feel-good interview anymore. It was a philosophical showdown. The View prides itself on being a platform where women's voices are front and center. But here was a man, a powerful, respected man, challenging their assumptions. And he wasn't playing by their rules. Joy tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground. She made a joke about Denzel being the last real man in Hollywood. The audience laughed nervously, but Denzel didn't. He leaned forward and said, "That's not something to joke about. We're losing something real. Men are afraid to be men. Women are exhausted. Kids are confused. And Hollywood's too busy selling agendas to tell the truth." That's when things truly exploded. Ana Navarro chimed in, accusing him of generalizing, of painting with too broad a brush. She said, "You can't blame Hollywood for the world's problems." Denzel replied, "I'm not blaming anyone. I'm pointing out that we have a platform. And instead of telling human stories, we're telling engineered ones. Stories that check boxes, not touch souls." At this point, even the audience started murmuring. Some cheered, some booed. It was chaos. The camera briefly cut to commercial, but the damage, or perhaps the truth, had already been delivered. When the show came back, Whoopi tried to de-escalate. She told Denzel, "We love you. We don't always have to agree, but this is a safe space." And Denzel, with a half smile, said, "Safe doesn't mean silent. If we can't talk honestly, what's the point of being here?" And with that, he stood up, thanked the audience, and walked off. No storming out, no yelling. Just a man who said his piece and left. And let me tell you, the internet exploded. Clips of the moment went viral within hours. TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, every platform lit up. Some praised Denzel as a truth-teller, a masculine role model who wasn't afraid to challenge the narrative. Others labeled him tone-deaf, outdated, even dangerous. Memes flooded timelines. Debates erupted in comment sections. The phrase, "The world doesn't need weaker men, it needs better men," started trending globally. People started printing it on shirts, Motivational pages turned it into a mantra. And of course, major outlets weighed in. CNN called it a moment of male assertiveness in a female-dominated space. Fox News called him a cultural hero. And The View, they went into PR mode. The next day Whoopi addressed it on air. She said, "We invited Denzel to speak, and he spoke. That's what this table is about. You don't have to agree, but you do have to listen." But you could sense the discomfort. The show had been shaken, and maybe that's exactly what needed to happen. Because whether you agree with Denzel or not, one thing is undeniable: he made people think. He didn't come to pander, he came to speak truth, as he saw it. And in today's world, where most celebrities toe the line, that's rare. Behind the scenes, sources say the producers were blindsided. They'd expected a promo, interview, a few laughs, and a clip or two to circulate on social media. Instead, they got a cultural moment. There were even whispers that his future appearances on daytime TV might be limited. But do you think Denzel cares? He's not playing the game anymore. He's past that. This is a man who's won Oscars, led Broadway revivals, and walked through fire in his personal faith. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't fear cancellation. That's power. This wasn't the first time Denzel stirred the waters. In past interviews, he's talked about the importance of family, faith, and responsibility. He's pushed back against narratives that promote victimhood, and he's done it without shouting, with outrageous clarity. That's what made this moment so powerful. It wasn't a meltdown, it was a masterclass, a calm, composed confrontation of culture, and people felt it. Men messaged in saying they finally felt seen. Women chimed in, saying they longed for more men to speak and act like him. Even critics had to admit, love him or hate him, Denzel meant every word. That's something you can't fake. And that's what makes his sentence so unforgettable. The world doesn't need weaker men, it needs better men. Simple, direct, transformative. In the days since, more celebrities have weighed in. Terry Crews praised him. Charlemagne the God called it a needed dose of masculine clarity. Jordan Peterson shared the clip on his social media. Even Joe Rogan brought it up on his podcast. That one sentence has sparked a conversation that goes far beyond daytime TV. It's now about fatherhood, leadership, identity, and media responsibility. It's about where we're headed, and who we allow to lead the narrative. Because when a man like Denzel Washington speaks, people listen not because he's loud, but because he's earned that respect. And let's not forget, this isn't a man who throws words around carelessly. Every syllable is intentional. Every pause is loaded. That's the kind of presence he has, a stillness that commands storms. And The View, well, they'll survive, but they won't forget. Because that one moment exposed something deeper: on imbalance, a fragility, and maybe even a fear. A fear that truth, when spoken clearly and without apology, still has power. In a world full of noise, Denzel dropped a sentence like a stone in still water, and the ripples are still spreading. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with questions we need to wrestle with. What does strength mean in today's world? Can we talk about masculinity without triggering alarm bells? Are we so afraid of offending that we've forgotten how to be honest? And perhaps most importantly, what kind of men are we raising? What kind of fathers, brothers, sons, and leaders are we nurturing? Denzel didn't just challenge The View, he challenged all of us. To be better, stronger, more grounded, not performative, but principled, not perfect, but real. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it hit so hard, because deep down, we know he's right. We don't need weaker men, we need better men. And that means better people, more truth, less fear. That's what he came to say. And when he was done, he left, not in anger, not in shame, just in truth. And that, my friends, is how you decode a cultural earthquake. If you found this story as powerful as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell so you never miss an episode, because here at Daily Decode, we're not just following the trends, we're uncovering what they really mean. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep decoding the world around you.